Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to Mystical Munchies featuring the Star Wars Life Day Cookbook. The crab puffs last week were pretty good, so now we're on to the side, Wroshyr Bramble. First up, let's tell the story. Life Day's origins can be found in Wookiee legends about the Tree of Life, the mythical Wroshyr tree from which all life supposedly sprung. Since Wroshyr trees are so important to the heart of the holiday, it felt only natural to find a way to incorporate them into this collection. But that's where things got tricky. See, it's common knowledge that Wroshyr sap can be turned into a syrup, a glaze, or even a beverage, but the rest of the tree isn't exactly known for being edible. It took a lot of digging, literally, but I eventually found a part of the Wroshyr that had the taste I was looking for. The tips of the Wroshyr's root system add just the right amount of flavor and crunch to this classic veg casserole. It's like they always say, when it comes to holidays, it's always important to remember your roots. Well, we'll find out all about that soon enough, because the ingredients for this recipe are waiting for us at the table, so let's move in that direction. As soon as I started seeing the ingredients and seeing what this recipe actually was, I started getting some feelings about it, but I'll talk more about that toward the end of the recipe, probably during the taste test. Anyway, for this recipe, we need 2 14.5 cans of French cut green beans that are also drained, a 10 3/4 ounce can of cream of mushroom soup, half a cup of cheddar cheese, a half teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon each of paprika and black pepper, and 1.5 cups of French fried onions that will be divided. You may hear the oven chirping in the background. It's already at 350 and working on some of my Saturday prep. So the next step would also be to prep an 8x8 inch baking dish with nonstick spray. I'm not going to do that though until we're actually ready to go into the oven. But what we're going to do now is we're going to move into the kitchen and start putting this recipe together. We're going to start off with a large mixing bowl. In here, we're going to stir everything together. We're going to stir the green beans, the soup, cream of mushroom soup, which I've got right here. I'm going to grab a different spatula because the can ended up being a little bit wider than I thought it was going to be. Actually, I think the problem was the spatula was a little bit wider than I thought it was going to be. I got as much of the cream of mushroom soup out there as I could. Alright, next we want the cheddar cheese, which we've got half a cup of that. That can go back into the fridge. Then we want our spices. We'll start off with the garlic powder and a 1/4 teaspoon measuring spoon, which I'll use twice to get the half teaspoon I need. 1, 2. Then we only need 1 each of for the paprika and the black pepper. And the black pepper. And the last up, we'll go for 3/4 of a cup of the crispy fried onion, of the French fried onions. Because remember, we need 1.5 cups divided. That divides, looks like we're going to be dividing that in half. If I can ever get the foil covering off. There we go. It's going to tear a little bit, but at least it's off. Okay. And we'll mix all of this up. Alright, that looks like it's mixed up pretty well. So now I'll go get my 9x9 pan into shot. I went ahead and sprayed the pan down, which you were supposed to do before the recipe started anyway, but I didn't do it until now when I was ready for it. Now we're going to take the casserole and we're going to transfer it into our prepared dish. See if I can get a little bit more of this out. Maybe spread it out over the pan a little bit. Okay. Looks like that's as much of it as I'm going to get out. So now we'll throw that in the oven, and they want you to bake this for 30 minutes until bubbly, but knowing my oven, I'm going to put it in for a little bit longer. We're going to go 35 minutes with it. There we go. I was finding room in the bottom rack. Setting a timer for 35 minutes, so we'll come back after that comes out of the oven. Here's our first look at the initial casserole. We're not quite done yet, though, because we need to take the other half of the French fried onions, the other 3/4 of a cup of that, and sprinkle it on top. Okay. And then recipe as written, another 5 to 7 minutes. So I'm going to put this in for another 10 minutes just because I know my oven. We'll come back when this is ready to come out. Here we are. We'll set the timer for 10 minutes. And we'll come back when that comes out of the oven after it's got a little bit of time to cool. Here's our first look at the Wroshyr Bramble as it's completely finished. Now, there's a little bit of an elephant in the room here, but I'm going to plate some of this, and I'll talk more about that when I meet you guys over at my desk for the taste test. I've got some of the Wroshyr Bramble right here. Now, I mentioned there being a little bit of an elephant in the room back right before I plated some of this for the taste test. And I kind of alluded to something earlier when I was talking about the ingredients in terms of some of the ingredients. This definitely looked like a green bean casserole recipe, and here's where the elephant in the room comes in. I may be coming into this recipe a little bit biased because growing up, I never really warmed up to green bean casserole, and I think a lot of that is from a very tenuous relationship with veggies. I never liked a lot of the canned veggies. I just never really warmed up to them. I'm one of those people, as my mom would put it, when it comes to veggies, she has to lightly threaten them, not giving them too much heat. The fresher the better is the way I like my veggies. So I'm not sure what I'm trying to come into this unbiased, but again, I've got that kind of lurking in the background of this is definitely using canned green beans. And I never warmed up to green bean casserole growing up. But I figure a lot of time's gone by, might as well give it a try and see what I think of it. So, here we go. Also, this is a dish I don't make when I make Thanksgiving dinner. I've had Thanksgiving dinner here for quite a lot at home alone for quite a lot of years. But let's give this a taste and see what I think. Maybe it's this recipe, but this actually wasn't too bad. I don't know if it's going to be something I'm going to deploy into my Thanksgiving repertoire, since I do the bird, the stuffing, and sweet potato casserole. But it's actually not a bad recipe. I may actually go ahead and use this batch of green bean casserole this week for the meals that I make. Like I said, am I going to deploy it on Thanksgiving? That question remains to be seen, but it's actually not too bad. Anyway, in that ramble, that's another episode of Mystical Munchies in the books. Next week, we'll be making the side AOP roast, EOPIE, which will very likely mean, since that's going to be dinner next week, that will very likely mean there will be a morning game on Saturday next week. Speaking of games, we've got a lot of those coming up on the channel. Tomorrow we're playing Ark Nova, and Wednesday we'll be continuing Metal Gear Mondays with Metal Gear Solid, the board game, as we have to try again to we have to try the initial part of the campaign again. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications to get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.
Thank you.